All right, it is now time for raising funds for World Domination, day number 249. So, once again, for the daily update, there are no updates on the renoviction situation. So we won the case, although there's an anticipated appeal, and there's been no new information on this anticipated appeal since November. And in terms of sponsored block types, I added some more block types to the Shopify store. So if you want, you can get a custom block type dedicated in your name, added to the block mining game. And today I also started a bit of work on the next long form video. Diotal Love 73 says hi. How's it going? So we will continue with work on the terminal block mining game. So yesterday I had a fairly productive day of working on this. I'm going to need to add a general purpose user interface feature for accepting input. So one of the first things it'll make sense to have the ability to do in multiplayer is to have some mechanism where I can actually input connection information. And I'll need some kind of generic like text. That'll be useful for a lot of stuff. So this here's my the early stages of my text area. And I guess the next thing will be to make it so I can actually start editing that. Yes, but have you RF slashed yet today? No, of course not. That'll delete all my files. I don't want to do that. That'd be silly. So what I'll need is like a callback of some kind. What did I do for the other class? Interface. Good? Yeah, it's good. Otherwise, all my files would be gone. Someone who relies heavily on LSP, I admire your ability to reason about this stuff without that kind of thing. Yeah, honestly, it has been on my to-do list for a long time to actually use one a bit more. But every time I've gone about it and I research it, I end up running into snags. Like the plugins don't work, or there's NeoVim apparently has really good support for that stuff now. And I had looked a bit into like using the AI tools, but the plugins always seem to. I started using IntelliJ. I haven't done much IDE development in years. Mostly just done everything in Vim. So I started using IntelliJ, but I've been using it less lately. I only use it when I need to like actually debug, like step through to debug something, because it ever since June they pushed a build of IntelliJ where it's got a bunch of bugs that don't work with my project anymore. And I looked in there; they had a Cloud Code plugin, and it had extremely bad reviews. They were so bad that I decided to just not even bother screwing around with it. I just said I'll wait like 6 months. People are raving about how good AI is now. So once AI gets good enough that it can actually write a plugin that functions, so I can use AI without screwing around with it for days, that's when I'll start using it. NeoVim is great. Assuming you're using Vim. Yeah, I'm on Vim. Helix is a lot more plug and play. If you want to try something without plugins, VanillaSP is available on your path. It just works. Yeah, the consensus seems to be NeoVim is the way to go. What is the temperature? The temperature is 1. Thank you for asking. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Good luck with the feature you're working on. Thank you. concurrent viewers is very low. Congratulations to the one or possibly two viewers out there. You're very special. I haven't been here since like stream 180, 185. Oh, well, welcome back. So today, let's see if this will compile. Today I'm working on some input. I'm working on a general purpose like input, a user interface element, and that's going to be the start of that's going to be the first thing I'm going to use that for is for a input dialog for specifying connection information so that you can connect to multiple block worlds, and that'll also be part of the development work toward multiplayer. Sending love from U.S. Army, Korea. Your most recent video was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your service. All right, so this is what the game looks like currently. This thing over here is the beginnings. It's just like a debug output. But that will be a like text area. So when I get over to select this thing, then I can type stuff. Oh wow, it already works. Yeah, so there's that. Now the cursor doesn't show up, but I'll fix that in a minute. Oh, wow. We got a super chat. In case I miss tomorrow. Oh, yeah, tomorrow is day 250. Thank you very much for the $25. And I assume that is James Goodrich. I can't see the name, but I kind of recognize the icon. Orthoplex 64. How's it going? All right, let's try that. How's World Domination going? Pretty good. It's coming along very well today, actually. As you can see from the super chat there, we're doing very well on the financing on this stream. It's just a few more streams like this, and I'll be at my $12 billion goal in no time. That's almost correct. I forget what backspace character is. YouTube limits messages I have to spam. Sorry, it does sound hard trying to connect two separate game state worlds. At least that's how I understood it. I haven't programmed Java before. I will have to go to college this summer. Every time I've commented, I've been negative because I'm getting a computer science degree. That's what's been going on with situation, outsourcing, and AI. I don't know how to feel. I suck at coding. My fault. My heart is telling stories. There's no money for that unless you're in 99th percentile. I guess what advice would you give for a programmer with the attack on all fronts? Thank you for the content. I'm half done with the rent eviction video from a few days ago. It's a good question. We're kind of like there are many things in the world that are changing right now. Like even if you forget about programming and what's going on in the field of tech, there are like some really monumental changes in like the financial system, the banking system, in the economies of like the whole geopolitical structure of everything. So like even if I make statements about tech, they almost might not be relevant depending on how how the banking system pans out. 101 says hi. You'll have to speak in English, otherwise I can't moderate the chat. Yeah, so in terms of the depressing mood of tech, I think there's multiple things that are happening right now. So the tech layoffs mostly are down due to economic downturn. 101. So you said hi there. So I know you can say some things in English. If you could keep the chat in English, please. So the initial wave of layoffs, I think, were mostly due to economic downturn, not because of AI. Although, so when you think about a company, when they're announcing layoffs, if they make an announcement and say we are laying off people because business is bad, that has an immediate effect on their stock, and you can like calculate that. Whereas if you say because if you say we're doing bad, that means revenue went down, so the share price has to go down mathematically. But if you say we are laying people off, we're laying off 1,000 workers because of AI, because we became more efficient, what that's implying in that statement, which is kind of lying, is they're trying to signal to the market, we have the exact same revenue, but the cost of that revenue has gone down by 1,000 employees times whatever those employees make. So the implied relationship should be immediately the stock price should go up, because if that's actually true, if your revenue is the same, you have 1,000 less employees, then you don't have to pay them, and then your profit's bigger. And so that leads to an interesting dynamic where people are kind of overestimating the positive impact of AI. I think most of the layoffs so far, save for a few, like maybe graphic designer, I think that's probably been hit pretty hard. And slowly over time, I think people probably they're of course trying to refactor workloads to use AI, but that's going to take time. So I think if you're a programmer, and like, and Jensen and all those people, it's almost like those people would be stupid not to overhype the whole impact of AI. But it's in the short term, I think it's way overestimated. But in the long term, it might actually be underestimated, because I do think it's going to have a massive impact on like society overall. Like when people say it's going to increase productivity, here's and it will in some areas, but here's another like counter argument. What if, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this, what if AI causes an absolutely massive decrease in productivity because nobody can get anything done because everything is just full of spam and AI slop. And like every single business is getting 10,000 calls a day from like spam. Like imagine a future where you're a pizza shop and you start getting 1,000 phone calls a day from like some competitor hires some person in India to use AI to call the pizza shop of your competitor 10,000 times and order 10,000 pizzas to like the middle of nowhere. And like so that's another potential effect of AI. Great analysis of lies, big tech on fake AI driven layoffs. Yeah, I think that's for sure the case in the short term. There probably are some. Like I have been reading a bit more. Like it's been a couple of years now. I think that we've had pretty decent AI coding, so I think it probably is. I would believe some of the claims about like it kind of replacing some junior employees a bit. But then when you combine the fact that we're in an economic downturn and stuff like that, so people always extrapolate the mood. Like when the economy's bad, people assume that the economy's going to get worse every single year. Like this is just, we're in this permanent state of depression and it's going to get worse and worse and we're going to collapse. But then as soon as things start to pick up, then everyone will do the opposite. They'll be like, oh man, it's going to be like this forever. It's going to keep, that was just a temporary blip and now AI is back. Silicon Valley's back. Everything's good again. Now, when that happens, I'm not sure. It might happen so during peak COVID, so 2021, that's when I think you probably would have had like all-time historical peak enrollment for computer science programs. So those people would be graduating now. And that's kind of a double whammy. So we're in a downturn, and we also have the most people ever in the history of everything graduating into this market. So you have record low demand for those people and record high supply. So that's kind of a perfect storm. So the question would be, who is enrolling today in computer science? You're probably going to have a massive drop in enrollment today. So that means in 4 years from now, the number of new grads is going to be probably not high enough, because given the state of everything, why would anyone, when people are hearing all these sad stories, why would people go in there today? So then it will recover eventually, but the question is, how long will it take? Of course, there's if you're starting your career path now, it also kind of means it's harder to get internships and stuff. I know you're using AI as an excuse. I meant to say AI in the future. CEOs are lying about efficiency gains. I think probably a lot of CEOs, what they're seeing is they just fired everyone and replaced everything with AI. And so if you do that 2 weeks later, you'll be like, wow, the AI totally replaced them. But it'll catch up with them eventually. Like once the technical debt builds up and they, there's a lot of, it's like, for example, if you woke up one day and you're like, hey, wait, why do we have janitors? Why do we have, painters that paint the building, or like bridge inspectors? Why don't we just fire all these useless bridge inspectors? And then 2 weeks later, you're like, wow, look how much money we're making. And not even a single bridge has fallen down in the last 2 weeks. And then, or same thing with janitors. For 2 weeks after you fire all your janitors, nothing bad happens. And then a couple of years later, you're like, hey, why is there all this trash here? I think there'll be a gold rush in fixing software caused by AI systems. Yeah, there will probably be there'll be infinite corner cases that AI won't really be able to do well. And I think I've mentioned before, I think embedded systems is an area where AI probably will not do very well, because a lot of that requires that you physically touch the board. Like there's lots of examples where to program a certain board, you have to physically press the reset button, and AI can't do that. Theoretically, it could totally automate, like, coding in a terminal. Now we are in a recession. I'm still worried that the bad will stay bad economically. Only if AI gets better, which is not a given. Yeah, I think it's also it's being massively subsidized right now. I think that AI is going to change everything, and it could potentially be like a civilization-changing thing. So I think the government is massively dumping like infinite money into it now, almost as like a military level emergency thing. So that's why you see like insane like the burn rates for a lot of this stuff. Like I think ChatGPT, like even with all those paying customers and stuff, I think they're losing massive amounts of money on it, which is actually kind of amazing that they could just they have a program that generates responses, but that the fact that it costs like cents per token and stuff is pretty impressive. But at some point, I think that'll have to come back to reality, because like the first stage of like testing a new technology, like let's say like for example, when horses were a thing, and then you invent the car, and then suddenly someone's like, hey, you can buy a car, and then you can do deliveries and transportation and stuff like that. To figure out if it's economically viable, the first thing you do is you put a whole bunch of money into it. You say, okay, I have no idea what the operating costs are, so you sink the money in it to fund it for a while, no matter what the cost is, to collect the data about the economic efficiency of the whole business model. And that's where we are right now. We're just dumping massive amounts of money into AI, and then what is going to come out of that as a product is some investors will see like, okay, it cost $1 billion to run this for a year, and it made $100 million in revenue. So it's losing 90%. So that can only happen for so long until you have to shut that down. But presumably it will, it will get, they'll tweak it and make it more efficient and stuff like that. But it remains to be seen where things will settle. Degree's literally never been the difference between me getting a job or not. That's a bias because I'm pretty good at stuff. Yeah, the degree is only one component. I think relevant experience and like personal network is also a pretty big deal. One of the biggest, I think that's one of the underrated biggest benefits of going to school is that you get a peer group out of it. So you have a class and you can invite those people on LinkedIn, and 10 years from now you say, hey, do you remember me? I sat beside you in math class. I'm looking for a job now. And if people get that message, it's not considered spam. School did for me was to ask better questions of higher level experts, because staff engineers don't answer bottom share questions. School is very useful for communication, really. Yeah, I would agree that that's another kind of underrated thing from university is that it teaches you, it trains you to communicate in a standardized language. So there's like really abstract stuff like, when you talk about graph theory, if I talk about a vertex and an edge and stuff, but if you're like a genius and you just sit in a room reinventing like math and data structures and stuff by yourself without the language, then you might graduate and you don't really know how to communicate. You don't know how to ask the right problems, ask the right questions. To be fair, there was a small concern with RepRap first started because it was intentionally designed to reproduce itself. Just ban AI from using online manufacturing services, and we'll be fine. Yeah, it's already moving so fast, it's poisoning itself with its own output. The rate at which slop is dumped into the knowledge stream exceeds curated material. Yeah, that'll be a problem. I get ghosted from my connections. One of my friends got into Fang and has ignored me ever since. Yeah, I found, like when I remember when I came, after I did my Amazon orientation, like they really kind of brainwash you to be like everything is super secure and stuff. And I remember after my Amazon orientation, I was like, wow, they take security really seriously. Like I wonder if I should even tell people that I work at Amazon. That was like I was like second guessing myself after the orientation. And I think part of that is like the security mindset of when you're working at those places. And there's the other factor that a lot of programmers they're not the most social people in the first place. But that's why it's ideal if you can I find if you can for catching up with people, like after I graduated, I tried to actually make a really active effort to go to keep in touch with people, and I found the most effective thing was message them, be like, hey, I'm interested in want to catch up, and I would physically, I would not ask them for a time. I would like suggest a time and be like, hey, do you want to go get lunch tomorrow at 12 at this specific place, and like choose a location that is physically like right around where they are, so that way it's just like it's physically easy for them. Because if you have to arrange stuff and like get a bus and stuff, and but if you make all those decisions for them and make it easy, that increases the chance of a positive response. Fortunate in our area to a very deep esoteric tech community. Calgator is still alive, even though the creator died a long time ago. Calgator, I'm not familiar with that. Meetup is active some places, but it's falling prey to the lying pearl problem. After feeding with nag screens. I think that's why I got a site-wide ban on Reddit for basically asking what I did wrong. I kind of lost the conversation. Site-wide ban on Reddit for asking what I did wrong. Portland, Oregon. There's a lot of old FOSS DNA floating around. A bunch of people I've worked with in the past 20 years. I don't have to bounce between startups and whatever Fang's now because there's a lot more of it. Reddit had its best quarter ever. Oh, did they? I don't really use Reddit anymore. Reddit seems strange. It seems like it's really gotten overrun with bots. I find myself less able to gauge whether it's just like bots or like really strange people. Won't complain to them because I'm ending some of their jobs with social media. Raw packet protocol I designed, the endpoint adapter that you can throw at whatever client you make or find. Forgot I was talking with fingers. Yeah, it is a lot of reading there. I use Reddit for news. Comments are usually dumb, except technical subs. Yeah, I check it every now and then to like doom scroll, but that's about it. Very excited about Risk V project progress. Yeah, I've heard about it for quite a while. I haven't really kept up with the project at all. We can print chips for pretty cheap now. I've always wanted to make my own. Yep, all you need is to get a rock, smash the rock. You'll be all set. Always wondered what TrueCrypt would look like as hardware. Everyone stay as healthy as you can. Keep going. Persistence is how you absorb the world. Gotta go. Have a good night. Leon Edwards 321 says, "Yo, how's it going?" Wonder what it does if I paste things. It works. It doesn't work. Television J3H says, Why Pirani, Robert? I try to learn English? Excellent. Then we can all speak English. So, one of the next things I need to do is process the backspace characters. I forget which character code it is. I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure what I should do about new lines. I guess in general this might be useful. I may have use cases for this for multi-line input. Another thing I want to use this for is so I can actually type in commands. So we're going to have commands in the program. One of the first ones is I want to have a command to update the player's current position, so that way I can test. I can just teleport to a location. I'm from Kiribati. Where yo? I am from Canada. Kiribati. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to Google it if I remember. And then I guess with the ANSI escape sequence, I can just move the cursor around. Canada cold? Yes, it is cold. It's snowing outside. It's a big snowstorm. It's freezing cold out. I guess maybe I should just make this a list of lists of strings. Big snow, wow. Yes, big snow, wow, indeed. I think there's supposed to be a record-breaking snow around Toronto here. Have you been to a Korean restaurant in Toronto? Not really. I haven't been in Toronto very much in like 10 years. Honestly, I don't really go to restaurants anymore. I got no money. I guess the other thing I need to figure out is my pasting is broken for Unicode characters. Nice. I go home now. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Well, I made a little bit of progress tonight. I guess I'll probably call it a night, and I will grind away, if that's a bit more, tomorrow night for day 250. So there's lots of small individual things to work on for this, most of which are pretty easy. But this will be another. It's kind of annoying. I'm actually basically like rebuilding a ton of like UI features, which was not my original intention, but I guess once I have them working, I can just reuse them. All right, we'll leave it there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night. Later.